STEP. This basic act of walking serves as an acronym for the principles that enable us to deal more effectively with life's trials and problems so we may reap life's rewards. Sacrifice, timing, execution, and perseverance. Simply put, if we are looking to better ourselves or our positions in life, we have to step it up. And one of the best ways to step it up is to go hiking, because experience has dictated that these principles appear in concert on every hike. The stories that I will share with you today illustrate challenges, successes, setbacks, and above all, lessons learned. Stories. Stories are marked by distinct introductions, conflicts, and resolutions. In fact, all good stories can be broken down into 3 sections. Act 1, the beginning, Act 2, the middle, and Act 3, the end. Now, I want you to think back to the last story, movie or novel that you thought was great. What made it great? Chances are good it was in the middle, where the characters have to sacrifice immensely, time their successes, execute their plans, and persevere through hardships. In order to get the great rewards in Act 3, those characters have to sacrifice their ordinary world, leave it behind, and endure the trials, the setbacks, and the obstacles of Act 2. And such is the case with real life, because similar to Act 2, hiking can provide us with those experiences that teach us those valuable life lessons in order to get life's rewards. You see, if done right, hiking exposes us. It exposes our limitations physically and mentally. And once we are made aware of these boundaries, we can choose to limit ourselves or step it up. Through hiking, we can gain wisdom as to what we can achieve, what we cannot achieve, and learn how to step up to those challenges. I've hiked with juniors, seniors, large groups, small groups, in pairs, alone. I've even hiked with people many would figure are incapable of getting up a mountain. And with each of these hikes, I've come to experience sacrifice, timing, execution, and perseverance, and learn some valuable life lessons, which I will share with you now. Sacrifice, giving up to get. If you think back to those stories, those characters, after they make the initial sacrifice and leave their world behind, in Act 2, they have to make sacrifice upon sacrifice, which enables them to be victorious in Act 3. And if we are to be victorious, we too must sacrifice that which holds us back. Castle Mountain. It was late August, mid-afternoon, sun was going down a little quicker this time of year. My hiking partner, Eve, and I, we were struggling with our backpacks. They were a little heavy. So we decided to sacrifice our packs and drop them by this big rock and make a run for the summit. We make the summit easily. Now the issue is to find that rock and get our backpacks and head back down. A bigger issue than we figured. Because on a mountain this massive, trying to find that rock is like hunting for a needle in a haystack. Fortunately for us, earlier in the hike, we befriended the only other group to summit the mountain that day, sacrificed a little time and resources with them. They were a little ahead of us on the way down. They spotted our backpacks by the rock and signaled us to them. The lesson learned here is be good to the people on the way up in case you might need them on the way down. Timing. In those great stories, in Act 2, those characters must face setback upon setback upon setback, and all the while practice patience and faith that they will be victorious in Act 3. so must we deal with our inconveniences and practice patience and faith that the time of our success will arrive. Mount Bourgeot, part of the massive range in Banff. First attempt, went up with my buddy Derek. We got to about an hour and a half from the summit and started to run out of daylight and resources. Second attempt was July 2012, headed out with my much younger cousins. We had an earlier start, but all they were interested in was picnicking. We snacked so much on the trail, we only made the lake that day. Third attempt, went out with my hiking partner Eva. We get to the lake, it was June 2017, one of the longest, hottest days of the year. The lake was frozen, and we were in knee-deep snow, and the scree slope up to the summit in avalanche mode. Fourth attempt, went out with my, three experienced and determined hikers. Bob, who's been up Bourgeot several times, Peter, who's just a natural thoroughbred of a man, and Eva, who was too stubborn to quit. This time the issue, it was Friday, August 10th, 2018, the issue was the weather. Again, that day, there was a heat wave that was setting that record all-time high temperature, and fire smoke from British Columbia, pushed the air quality index off the charts. Yeah, about 250 meters from the summit, Bob, our most experienced hiker, started feeling the effects of the fire smoke. His asthma was kicking in, and he decided, okay, we've had enough, I gotta turn back. And I'm thinking, nice, okay, this is good. I'll come back when it's more convenient. Now, Peter had other plans. He looks at me and he says, Gino, I'll head down with Bob, you make the summit with Eva. Thinking, okay, well, this is inconvenient.
I said, don't worry about it, Peter. People will understand. We shouldn't even be up here in the first place. And you know those friends who know you better than you know yourself? Pete's hiked with me before. He knows I have asthma too. But somehow he saw hope in my eyes and said, listen, just think about this. How much more of an impact, you do this for your speech, how much more of an impact will this message have for that speech of yours? And I'm thinking, okay, this is crazy. If you were to make that summit today of all days, how much more of an impact? So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Peter, Bob, Eva, and myself, this next picture is for you all. We made it, despite the record temperatures and the fires. Lesson you'll learn here was forcing someone to act, if it is for their own good, promotes no inconvenience. Execution. You probably heard this. You can do whatever you want. You just have to believe. That is nonsense. We have to act.
In those stories, it's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It is not believe 1, or believe 2, or believe 3. Those characters have to act, and so do we. My friend, Wanda, she's a paraplegic. She can believe all she wants. She would never be able to make it up a mountain just thinking about it. So what does she do? She executes. She acts. She researches. She finds a group out of Canmore that specializes in these chariots called trail riders. So between her husband, Andrew, myself, and a few other friends and volunteers, we were able to get her up Wilcox Pass and Parker Ridge in Jasper in 2014, get her up to Chester Lake in Kananaskis in 2017 and 2018, and Prairie View Trail in Kananaskis in 2018. The lesson learned here is just thinking about something does not get it done. We have to execute. Perseverance. One little thing to keep us going through those hard times, and that is reminders. In those great stories, during the end of each trial scene in Act 2, those characters are reminded either from supporting characters or their own memories of how to overcome those obstacles. So must we remind ourselves during our hardships that they're just there as opportunities for us to learn how to better ourselves. Let's go back to Castle Mountain. The first attempt, done many attempts. First attempt, we spent 8 kilometers switchbacking through forest without any scenic viewpoints. Part of this hike is a minor scramble from the lake up to a bunch of cliff bands, and that's also followed by an hour and a half of mind-numbing rock hopping to the summit. But it was during the scramble phase where Andrew, Eva, and myself actually cliffed out. We hit a dead end. There was an avalanche chute. We had to turn back. Couldn't find a path. So, stepped it up. Went and did a little research and found out that I had to follow the cairns. These are rock piles that mark a direction. Also, a friend of mine, Roger, had mentioned, hey, look out for some fluorescent flagging tape. So lo and behold, excitement or apprehension turned to excitement when Eve and I went back and played a game of Spot the Cairns and the flagging tape. The lesson learned here is that setbacks in no way mean all is lost. Setbacks, we should look at them as simply reminders that those are opportunities for us to learn how to better ourselves. Sacrifice, timing, execution, and perseverance. These principles are most definitely inherent and in concert on every hike. And if we experience them and shape, see, our brain is our most powerful tool. If we use this to shape our brain, we can shape our destinies. And there's plenty of evidence to prove that these principles help shape destinies. Gandhi initiated the Salt March and trekked India towards its independence. Goodall hiked the forests of Tanzania and brought us closer to our primate relatives. Nikola Tesla conceptualized alternating current during one of his daily walks. All 3 of these highly influential figures were subject to the principles of sacrifice, timing, execution, and perseverance. Let's go further. Stanford University, Psychology Today, the American Psychological Association, and countless other scholars all hail walking as a great contributor to the powers of the creative mind. Now, you see, these days we are so conditioned to learn helplessness and entitlement. Just think back to all those advertisements that attack us daily. Infomercials being the worst of the lot. They show a problem and then offer a solution with very little sacrifice to be made. You too can afford this with 5 easy payments of. Timing always takes an immediate stance. This is a limited time offer. Execution provides instant gratification. Order now and we will double your offer, or we'll give you a second one for free and throw in some other stuff. And perseverance, taken out of the equation altogether. If you're not satisfied, just return it and we will give you your money back. So, how do we combat these negative influences? By putting ourselves in the midst of nature. This is where we can experience the principles of S.T.E.P and bring us back into what the Swedish call lagom, or balance. Now, before we head out into nature, we have to pay a little bit of heed to words of advice from scientist and scholar Alfred Korzybski, and that is, the map is not the territory. See, before I go out on a hike, I'll do a little research, check topographical maps, weather reports, GPS readings, videos by previous hikers. And what I've found that on these well-described trails, there are times when my actual experience differs greatly. Over 20 years in the field of education has taught me that no matter how much we study and learn from the best educators and institutions, words, images, simulations can never replicate the real world. Hiking gets us out into the real world to get those experiences. You see, with those experiences, with sacrifice, timing, execution, and perseverance. Those are so important for us. As Julius Caesar once stated, experience is the teacher of all things. But a little word of caution before we head out there. Experience is the toughest teacher because you get the test first and then the lesson after. So, finally, just like all those characters that we love so much out there, if we are looking to get life's rewards, we must endure Act 2. We must put in some amount of sacrifice. We must understand the workings of time and timing. We have to execute those plans and persevere through those hardships. Ladies and gentlemen, there are plenty of lessons out there to learn. Step it up, go learn them. And if you don't believe me, go take a hike.